I'm here in Willowbrook in front of one of 5 murals painted in 2023 as part of the LA vs. Hate Season of Solidarity Public Art Series led by the LA County Commission on Human Relations. The project aims to build bridges of tolerance and understanding. Unfortunately, according to the most recent hate crimes report, hate crimes are up nearly 20% in LA County, and that has officials and residents concerned. Welcome to One-on-One, where we dive deeper into the issues of our time with the county leaders driving solutions. In this episode, we sit down with the Executive Director of the Commission on Human Relations, Robin Toma, to talk more about hate crimes, what's driving them, and the work being done to ease tensions in our communities. From swastikas and freeway overpasses to unprovoked targeted attacks against minorities, LA County has experienced a surge in hate crimes, a persistent and troubling issue in our region made worse by the state of our rancorous national politics. For years, LA County's Human Relations Commission has fought to eradicate these violent crimes in our county through anti-hate programs, dialogue, and collaboration with law enforcement. But is it enough? And what does the future hold? Answers to these and other questions ahead. We are here with Robin Toma, Executive Director of LA County's Human Relations Commission. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start off with the hate crime report, because this is a report that happens annually, and the 2022 report just came out, and unfortunately we see that hate crime is still rampant in LA County. In fact, it rose 18%. And I want to get to the possible reasons of why that happened, but before we get to that, I want to ask you, how do you define a hate crime?
We use the laws, which is the Penal Code of the state of California. And there are several sections which define what a hate crime is, which is essentially a crime which is motivated by animosity towards somebody's race, national origin, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability.
And the 2022 hate crime report reflected that that was a significant spike, 18%, which is the second largest spike in the history of this report. Why? What happened?
Well, if you think back to 2022, there was a lot of things going on that really deepened the divide along lines of political party, race, gender, sexual orientation, the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, which had over 500 convictions, and then so many of them actually came from Southern California. 50 of the people convicted, and that included a retired police chief, university professor, and we had Proud Boys and other members of extremist organizations that are from Southern California that were also involved. Things like the sign that was put over the 10 overpass saying that Kanye West was right, and with a group of people saluting in Nazi fashion. Also, the fear of changes in our population that made a lot of people go towards white nationalism laid the foundation for, unfortunately, increase in the acts of hate.
So let's talk about some key takeaways from this hate crime report. 72% of hate crimes were of violent nature, and that's the second highest percentage in 20 years. African Americans were again disproportionately targeted. Religious crimes spiked 41% and comprised 16% of all hate crimes. Specifically, anti-Jewish crimes are rising exponentially.
One of the things that has been a factor that we've seen is the growth in crimes that involve white supremacist symbols and ideology. Many of those crimes target Jews as well as racial minorities. I do think that with what's going on now in the war in Israel and Hamas in Gaza, that is going to have an impact. Unfortunately, we do see what happens in the world having direct impact on what happens here in LA County. We are going to be tracking that, monitoring it, and actively working to prevent it.
The hate crime report also reflected that African Americans are overrepresented as victims of racial, sexual orientation, and anti-transgender crimes. So why the disparity, and what is LA County doing to stop this anti-Black hatred?
So we have partnered with other organizations to develop an anti-Black racism training where we are making that available to many community organizations. We also have work in our schools through Dream Resource Centers that are different high schools in which we create spaces for students who are vulnerable where they may be truly a racial minority. We also work in the South LA community. We did a beautiful mural in the Black community just recently where it helps to uplift this community and make it clear this is a community that belongs. This is a community that has been part of our history. This is a community that warrants our respect and support. And this Summer of Solidarity campaign we did with LA versus Hate did that in many of the targeted communities for hate. And so doing that along with lifting up the Jewish community, lifting up the Latino community, the LGBT community, is a way of making it clear to our residents that this is a community that belongs, that they are part of who we are as an LA County, and that this is a symbol of that presence and belonging.
LA County is 40% Latinos, right? What do anti-Latino hate crimes usually look like?
The anti-Latino hate crimes might be anti-immigrant remarks, which were among the highest that we've seen ever. We're in a time when that has been a ongoing chant of certain political parts of our country. And the scapegoating of Latinos and Mexicans, the increase was a small increase. It was only 2% compared to other groups, but it also was among the most violent types of hate crime that we have seen in a long time.
So in general, we did see hate crimes rising, but specifically for the Asian community, hate crimes declined. Why do you think that was?
The pandemic definitely fueled a lot of anti-Asian hostility because of what some of the leaders in our country said and the way that people look towards China. And so even though there was a decline, at the same time, it's the second highest number that we've ever seen. We also think that a big reason why the increase was so much is because, in fact, our LA versus hate system of reporting.
And how does the LA versus hate crime reporting system work?
So when people experience an act of hate, just call 211, or you can go to laversushate.org on the website. We immediately offer to assist you in whatever you need. So we've helped people get restraining orders against neighbors who are harassing them. We've helped them get file claims against businesses that allowed hate to happen to them. And then we connect them to a whole network of community-based organizations.
Talk to us about the training efforts that LA versus Hate has with agencies such as police department, fire department, etc.
One of the things that we do with law enforcement is to make sure that they are recognizing the importance of utilizing 211 LA versus Hate. We also train so many other organizations about how to handle difficult conversations in ways that are going to build understanding and empathy.
Speaking of law enforcement, we have heard troubling stories about deputy gangs and how this specifically affects minority communities. They're fearful of law enforcement. Talk to us about that issue specifically.
The Transformative Justice Team is a program that we have which is looking at how we can strengthen our relationships between police and community, making sure that their officers are aware of implicit bias that affects us all and how that can affect their job. How to work with people who've experienced trauma and hate. We have the Network Against Hate Crime, which has since 1984 been bringing together community-based organizations and law enforcement on the common ground of fighting hate crimes. So for example, the LAPD fact that they have on their hate crime report a box that says hate crime that they check off, that was because of our network that raised the issue that it wasn't being reported by police.
We also know that the transgender community has been targeted in culture wars nationally, right? But it's affected how they've been treated here locally in LA County. As a matter of fact, 4 of the past 5 years saw record numbers of hate crimes against transgender people. Are these anti-trans bills encouraging more hate crimes, or why do you think there's such rising attacks against the LGBTQ community?
Unfortunately, it's been a target nationally for movements that have decided to make places like schools unsafe for kids who are transgender. That has really been something we've seen here in LA County. And we think that's reflected in dozens of laws throughout our country. In other words, it's a reaction of fear, and that is not a way to live. We want to create a place where everyone has a sense of belonging, that they know that they are protected.
Do you think there's anything a minority group can do to prevent or reduce their risk of becoming a victim of a hate crime?
Absolutely. So, for example, when Asians were being targeted for hate crime during the pandemic years, one of the things that was happening was a training program called Seniors Fight Back that actually came from a victim of hate. They were trained by mixed martial artists in simple techniques, and even ways of carrying themselves. And that changed the way people felt about being afraid about going out.
Robin Toma has both professional and personal experience in dealing with racism as he shares his family's painful history with discrimination.
You are of Japanese and Okinawan ancestry, and I understand that your mom was in an internment camp,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How does that affect you and your work?
Well, the fact that my mother and my aunts and uncles basically spent their teenage years living in desolate places in California and Idaho behind barbed wire in U.S. government prison camps solely because of their Japanese ancestry. No other actions or charges were ever, placed against them. I mean, that to me is just a very sad example of what happens when discrimination and stereotypes and fears infect our policies and our behaviors as individuals.
What do you think we're going to be seeing in the 2023 hate crime report and beyond?
I expect that we will decline in the acts of hate. Now, we have a complication this year of there being a very serious war that's happening that many in LA County have a direct connection to. That can turn into some acts of hate. We're increasing our resources going out to communities. So we have that potential with all these new partners and existing ones to be able to prevent hate crimes from happening in the first place and to see that number come down.
Well, thank you so much for this enlightening conversation and for all the work you're doing to eradicate hate in LA County.
Thank you.